Here we see two AIs in their natural habitat. A karate tournament. I mean, a video game. I mean, a YouTube video. One of these AIs was made by the game's creators. The other, by a man who recently pinged every internet-connected device in the world to see if he could store a file in internet pings. No, I'm not kidding. The first AI reacts to what its opponent does in real time. The other is a cheaty safe scummer. Can you tell which AI is which? Perhaps if we listen closely, the non-native AI will reveal itself.
Oops, I missed. Oh, just kidding, ha. That hurt my hand. Why are you so pixely? Was your mother a badly played game of Tetris? Hey, buddy, I'm no doctor, but I don't think your leg is supposed to come out of your armpit like that. I think you have a slight case of being dead. I guess I win. Yippee.
Welcome back to AI Plays, the show where we feature AIs that play video games. We're using Tom Seven's Learnfun and Playfun system again, which, if you're not familiar with it, I'll do a brief overview of how it works a bit later in the video. And although that is Mario dancing in the intro, we're breaking away from Mario. In fact, we're breaking away from platformers completely, and we're going to see how Playfun does with games of the fighting game / beat-em-up genre. Starting with this one. Oh yeah, that's a nostalgia hit. Of course, this is all for your benefit. Playfun couldn't be bothered to sit through the intro music. It immediately jumps into the game and chooses Mike. Lame. Yes, I know I just triggered a bunch of 80s kids. Comment sections down below. But look, the official rating system for which turtle is best is how many kids on the playground wanted to be which turtle. Did any of y'all want to be Michelangelo? Not at my school you didn't. I mean, Leo? Yes, absolutely. Raph? Yes. But even Donatello got picked before Michelangelo. Okay, I guess we should talk about how Playfun's actually doing here. And as you can see, it's kicking lots of butt.
I would be taking names, but these guys won't tell me their names. I'm gonna call you, Terry, and you, Francesco. Ouch. That's not nice, Francesco.
So there are a couple of things we can notice right off the bat here. One is that the player gets a point for every enemy they knock out, which is exactly the kind of thing that Playfun latches onto and says, yes, okay, this is what represents progress. Think of this like a tiny endorphin hit that Playfun gets every time it destroys an enemy. Wait, that's kind of disturbing. Let's not think about it like that. Another thing I noticed right off the bat is that Playfun is constantly pushing its character up against the right side of the screen. You have to defeat all the enemies, then you move to the next screen, defeat that batch of enemies, then move to the next screen, and both of those things can be represented by a very clear mathematical objective that Learnfun obviously picked up on from my awesome training data playing as Raph, and decided it could do just as well with Michelangelo. And yes, it's doing very, very well. In this game, I don't think there's any difference between the turtles other than their appearance. Oh, there goes its first life. That's what happens when you don't care about your health bar and spend half the time you're playing down at only 1 unit of health. For Playfun not to care about its own health bar or its life count is pretty typical, actually. As long as it's alive and can keep playing, that's all it cares about. Unless you do something in the training data to increase the health amount or increase the number of lives, Playfun doesn't care. And the reason it doesn't care is that Learnfun doesn't look for progress in values going down, it only looks for progress in values going up. Like, here's a key example. He just stands there and lets this guy choke him for quite a while, right up until he's about to run out of life completely, and then he breaks out of it. But now it's going to play for a good long time with just that one remaining bar of health, just like it did the first time. So it does appear to have some sort of motivation to avoid taking a death. Another thing I want to point out is this move that he does that is basically a one-hit knockout, and even it knocks out multiple enemies at once sometimes. Each enemy actually takes 2 normal hits. But there's a special attack you can do by pressing the A and B buttons almost at the same time, but not quite, and it's kind of a very rapid pressing one and then the other. It's actually a pretty precise input that is kind of tricky to get at first. But I did it multiple times in the training data, therefore it is in Playfun's repertoire of moves, and being a computer program, it can just get it exactly right every single dang time. Speaking of which, this seems like a good time to do a quick review about how Learnfun and Playfun work. If you've seen the previous videos and you're already familiar with all of this info, feel free to skip ahead about 45 seconds. Learnfun and Playfun are a pair of programs created by Tom Seven, who set out to create an AI system that would take a generalized approach to playing games on the Nintendo Entertainment System. The software was not designed to play a specific game, rather it can play any game that can run on the NES. Learnfun, short for Learn Function, is given a set of training data, which is basically a series of inputs made by a human player playing a given game. Learnfun uses this data to determine, among other things, a set of objectives that it thinks represents progress being made through the game, and a library of input sequences called motifs. This information is given to Playfun, short for Play Function, which actually plays the game and tries to achieve the objectives that Learnfun has given to it. That's a very basic overview. If you want more detail about how it all works, you can find links to Tom's website and YouTube channel in the video description. So Turtles 2, the arcade game, has gameplay that's very well suited to Playfun's abilities. We're going to talk about the trouble it has with boss fights in a bit here, but first let's look at another game. Double Dragon 2 was like forbidden fruit for me as a child. Now Playfun's going to skip right past the story here, but I feel pretty confident I can tell you what's going on. One day, very 80s hairstyle man is walking in the post-apocalyptic streets when he is suddenly attacked by the Ginger Circus Acrobat twins. Oh, triplets, sorry. And then the story just progresses very naturally from there. Now, Playfun is amazing at this. Just like the Turtles game, it's got these power attacks, like that one, that uppercut, just blammo. It can use those power attacks to take down the enemies faster, which it really likes, because then it gets its points faster. And look at this, just kicking them right off the ladder with the tornado kicks. This is just very satisfying to watch. The developers were really thinking ahead to when we'd be using AIs to play their games. So yes, throw him. It was very helpful that they inputted that scoring system. They must have foreseen it. I mean, I can't see any other reason why you'd include score in a game like this. Okay, now you're supposed to go up, Playfun.
I'm confused. What is happening here?
Just go back and climb up the ladder. The ladder, Playfun. Or just punch and kick the wall, whatever. This highlights one of Playfun's biggest weaknesses, which is any kind of open world it has to navigate. There was nothing to tell it that it was supposed to go up that ladder on the previous screen, and it is now too far back for it to have any reasonable chance of actually going back and trying that. Sadly, this is where our hero's hairstyles journey ends, so bring on the next game, I guess. I'll forgive you for being a little confused by the text on this screen. This is Metro City at night during a power outage after an ink attack by Squidzilla. Now the mayor's daughter Jessica, her beauty ratty, aids throughout the city and gives the citizens the power to survive. Oh lord. Scintillating story, as you can see. Basically, the bad guy kidnaps the mayor's daughter, so the mayor teams up with his daughter's boyfriend and some other dude, and they head out to beat the snot out of everybody. So yeah, this is Mighty Final Fight, which is a follow-up to the game Final Fight, which came out on the Super Nintendo. Yes, you heard that right. And Playfun played this for a very long time, so I'm only going to show you the highlights. Like, check this out here. Blammo! And Playfun loves this tornado move. So this character is Hagar, the mayor, who is a former wrestler, which of course obviously qualifies him to beat up an entire underground crime syndicate. Now, something very interesting I noticed about this game is that Playfun actually seems to know when it's supposed to be attacking. And what I mean by that is, you don't see a lot of random attacking while he's just walking and progressing the screen forward. Unlike Turtles or Double Dragon, where we saw that all the time, it was just constantly mashing the attack buttons. But here, when he's just traversing, he walks and he jumps, but he doesn't, like, randomly punch the air. But as soon as there's enemies close by, he starts to wail on them. I'll get into why I think this is happening in a minute, but first, let's watch this. This is the first boss fight. Playfun reveals its truly evil nature here by saying, yes, he'll join the bad guy's gang, but guess what? It was a false choice. And Playfun is so offended at being called a mama's boy that it just stares aghast at the screen for a while. Let's just get on to the fighting. He loses his first life of 5 here, but then absolutely dominates this boss, which is incredible to see, because if we look back at Turtles 2... No, that's wrong game. Here we go. Faced with a fight against Rocksteady here, Playfun has absolutely no idea what to do. And it actually resorts to pausing, because that's the best option it can find. I covered the pausing issue in depth in the videos on Mario 3, so I won't go back into it here, but basically, it's just trying to keep itself from dying because it has very little life left. 69 points. Did the devs do that on purpose? But in this game, he has no trouble at all with this boss. He actually beats him up quite handily, and so I would say that this is the game that Playfun is best at so far of this genre, because he actually, beats the first stage and moves on to the second one. We haven't seen that yet.
I don't understand. This worked in Mario.
Here's the stage 2 boss, though, and this didn't go nearly as well. Playfun actually played through the second stage 3 times, and all 3 times got defeated by this boss. This boss kind of runs around all over the place, so Playfun can't always find it. He gets the hits in when the boss comes close, but there's also a big risk of the boss hitting him, which does a ton of damage. And you can see again what I pointed out here earlier. There's not a ton of random attacking. He does most of his attacking when the boss gets close, which is very telling. There's something going on there. But for whatever reason, he just can't pull it off in the end. I'm sorry, but what is that? Is that supposed to be the mayor's daughter? I almost slapped my screen because I thought there was a bug on it. So we've got the same problem in this game that we've seen previously, where Playfun just doesn't care about its own health bar, which does get it into trouble. But the enemies in this game have health bars as well. And as I noted earlier, Playfun does seem to know when it's supposed to be attacking, even in this case, where we've got one enemy on the screen with a very large health bar. It's not rewarded with experience points until the enemy is fully defeated. So I think one of two things is happening here. Either Playfun looks farther in the future than I actually realize when it's figuring out the outcome of different scenarios, or the damage being dealt to the enemy is being counted up somewhere in the memory. It's a bit of a mystery, but one thing we do know for sure is that the phone booths in this world are very complicated. They have a pH of 1, which is almost as far from basic as you can get. Finally, Karate Champ, the game that you saw at the very beginning of this video. I used to play this all the time as a kid, and I used to sit on the title screen and watch the gameplay demo just to hear the awesome theme music. Somebody worked really hard composing this theme with harmonies and counter melodies, and you don't even get to hear it when you're playing the actual game, which is kind of sad. But I'm going to let it play underneath Playfun's actual gameplay. Okay, I think you get the point. Playfun's really good at this. In case you didn't pick up on it, he's controlling the guy in the white uniform. Somebody asked me in a comment if it was possible to set up 2 instances of Playfun and have them play against each other, and to be honest with you, I don't know. You'd for sure have to heavily modify the program, and I certainly wouldn't have the first idea of how to do that. I'm trying to think of ways to sort of simulate Playfun versus Playfun matches in some sort of game, but for now we'll have to settle with Playfun versus the in-game AI, which, as you can see, the in-game AI gets in a few hits here and there, but Playfun absolutely dominates because if things don't go its way, it can literally back up and just try something else. It literally is a cheaty save scummer. Actually, let me be a little more precise. It will look at several possible futures, pick the best one, and if none of them are good, it has algorithms for backing up or trying a different batch of things. In some ways, it's similar to how a chess computer operates. Anyway, there weren't too many surprises in Karate Champ. I was expecting Playfun to be very good at it. I did notice as it progressed through the levels, as the in-game AI gets faster and smarter, it started doing gradually better against Playfun. And so I'm genuinely curious if it would ever get to the point where it was just too much and would actually defeat our hero, or villain, depending how you look at it. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but apparently between the rounds of a karate tournament, people stand on the sides of the arena and start chucking flower pots at you. Playfun was surprisingly bad at this part of the game. The best it ever did was to destroy 3 vases before it got knocked out.
Wow. What even is my life right now? Help me, Francesco.
How much do you suppose Pizza Hut paid to have its logo reduced down to about 14 pixels of 1-bit color? Oh, if you liked the video, like and subscribe. There's going to be lots more. You can see the previous ones by clicking that playlist. And don't forget to argue about which turtle is best in the comments.